If you're still flying your drone with baked-in colour profiles, you're leaving too much image quality on the table. Today I'll show you why switching to DLOG M is the easiest upgrade you'll ever make. Welcome back to Learn.Shoot.Repeat with me, Nicholas Hill. Today we're going to be looking at how DLOG M is going to elevate your footage, whether you fly a Mini 4 Pro or the new Air 3S or something in between. We're going to look at how it works and why it matters. Today's location is this beautifully restored windmill down at Chillenden in Kent. So let's first talk about what happens when you actually press record. Your camera and its sensor starts to capture all of this data and it has to decide what to do with it. When you shoot in a standard profile, it has to make decisions for you. So it automatically bakes in the colour, the saturation, the detail and the sharpness, which means that when you get home, you have a much smaller window to be able to adjust any of those if they're not quite to your liking. It's fast, it looks okay out of box, but your trade-off is flexibility. If your highlights are a little blown out or your shadows are a little bit crushed, you're going to really struggle to get that back. DLOG M is a flat desaturated profile, able to capture a lot more information. Think of it as like shooting in RAW, but for your video footage. It preserves a lot more of the shadows and highlights, which allow you to be able to recover those later in post-production if needed. DLOG M or Mini is a cut down version of the full fat DLOG, and it was created with the intense purpose of being able to allow beginners and people just starting out to be able to colour grade or provide greater dynamic range in the images that they're capturing without all the complexity of the full DLOG. Switching to this profile will give you an extra 2 or 3 stops of dynamic range, which is not insignificant. It just means that you've got the confidence to know that a lot more detail is being retained in the skies and also in your foregrounds. So yes, the image looks flat at first, but that's what's going to allow you to be able to apply your own cinematic look later on in production, and also to be able to correct for those exposure mistakes. So let's take a look at this in action. I came down early this morning for sunrise with the intention of flying the same scenes, both in standard profile and DLOG M. The idea is that I can walk you through how each of them look and how I went about setting them up. Let's start by creating a waypoint mission so that we can repeat the same moves but with different camera settings each time. I've given myself some of the most challenging conditions by shooting directly into the sun. This should highlight very nicely the benefits of shooting in log. Once complete, I'm going to do a test run to make sure I'm happy with the setup we're going to be using this morning. I think it ran a little too quickly, so I'm going to slow down the speed, but that's easy enough to change. I'm going to go ahead and reset the drone camera back to its default settings. Before running the mission, let's reduce the global speed down to 3 meters per second. The camera is doing a pretty good job of balancing out the exposure considering we're shooting into the rising sun. The hatch zebra lines show where the footage is blown out and little if any detail will be recoverable. Let's now make a few changes. Firstly, we'll switch from normal profile to DLOG M. Next, let's bring down the sharpness and noise reduction. These are always a lot easier to apply in post if needed, but much harder to remove. Now, when we start running the mission, the first thing we notice is that we have a much smaller area of the sky that is being blown out, which means that we are automatically capturing a lot more information. Let's see what happens when we enable Colour Display Assist. Immediately, we can see that the colours are far more representative of what we would expect to see in the normal profile. The only difference is that it's not being baked into the final image. As the sun continues to rise, the light levels become stronger and stronger. My experience is that the DJI drones typically lend themselves to being a little overexposed. Let's see what happens when we run this using negative 0.7 stops of exposure compensation. We can see that the sky is retaining a lot more information, and the histogram in the top left hand corner is showing we have all the details being retained in the shadows, even if the LCD display is giving us the impression that they're being crushed. Learning to read the histogram is vital to ensure you get well exposed footage. I have to say that shooting at this time of day is one of my favourites. The warmth and colour in the sky is sensational and really makes for compelling drone videos. When I first looked at changing my workflow, I was concerned as to how much work would be involved when actually coming to colour grade. But the truth is, you can just go to the DJI website, download their free LUT, install it in your editor, and quite simply with one click, get colour corrected footage that you can use straight away. So I very quickly wanted to share with you how we go about downloading and installing a LUT. Today we'll be using CapCut because you can freely download this and follow along with what I'm doing. I'm going to start by going over to Google, and into here I'm going to type in DJI Air 3S LUT, and it proposes and suggests download. So we'll click on that and we can go and click on the link. Excellent. And we can see that it's worked out that I've got a Mac, so I can download the cube file. So once that's downloaded, we're now going to switch over into CapCut and I'll show you how easy it is to use. So if we open up CapCut, we can see that I've got a fresh project. And what we're going to do is we're going to come across and we're going to install the LUT. We go to Adjustments, and then under Adjustments, we've got LUTs. You can see I've already got one installed for my Mini 4 Pro and my Osmo Pocket 3, and I'm now just going to import one for my Air 3S. I go to my Downloads folder and find the relevant file, click Open, and it's as simple as that. That's now installed. Now, just to show you how we use this, I'm going to go into some drone footage from this morning. I'm going to drag that onto the timeline, and here is our base flat footage that we can now work with. Now what we can do is we can come across into Adjust, and you can see we've got LUTs, and then from LUTs we're going to pick the correct one that goes with this drone, and you can see it's immediately applied the color profile. Now from here you can continue to work with that file, and you could add a little bit of shadows back into the shadows, perhaps apply a little bit of brilliance, and there we go. We've got our color corrected footage ready to work with. So is there ever a time to shoot in standard profile? Well, the answer is yes. If you want to be able to get quick footage out of your drone that you're going to transfer onto your phone and upload to social media, then it's the right way to go. But if you're working on a project that's a bit more considered, then definitely looking to use something like DLOG M is always going to be the right choice. So next time you fly, don't settle for baked in. Fly flat and edit bold. This has been another episode of Learn, Shoot, Repeat. I'm Nicholas Hill, and I'll see you in the next one.